she chose books over food, then the CEO's insane decision changed her life forever. The dim light of the library flickered as shadows danced on the walls. It was a quiet sanctuary filled with whispers of adventure, romance, and every emotion known to humankind. For Layla, it was more than just books. It was a lifeline. The way her fingers traced over the spines, she could almost hear the stories calling her name. She often skipped meals, her stomach grumbling as she got lost in sagas of bravery and despair. She chose stories over sustenance, but who would blame her? Inside those pages, she found a world where dreams could soar and lives could change in an instant. But nothing could prepare her for the day when, under the heavy oak beams, the library doors flung open with a bang. The wind howled like a wild beast. A man stormed in, his designer suit clashing with the sanctity around him. It was Tom Hawthorne, the CEO of the largest publishing house in the nation, and his eyes held a fury that could ignite the whole room. He was known for his ruthless decisions that shook the industry. Whispers of his latest venture buzzed through coffee shops and back alleys, an unprecedented initiative that could ruin or redefine lives. "Listen up!" Tom bellowed, his voice echoing as startled patrons turned, books forgotten in hand. "I'm looking for something unique, something that leaves a mark. We take one lucky person's life and turn it upside down. A chance at fame, fortune, or even disaster." A hush fell over the crowd, as if time itself had cracked under the weight of his words. A shiver ran down Layla's spine. What did he mean? The air buzzed with intrigue, and her heart raced like a caged bird desperate for freedom. Could this be an opportunity she never dared to dream of? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As Tom's words sank in, Layla felt the weight of 1,000 choices pressing down on her. This was more than just a weird announcement in a dusty library. This was a catalyst, a spark in her stagnant life. She looked around at the faces, each marred with confusion and excitement. Who would dare to seize this challenge? What would it mean for those who participated? Suddenly, Layla's breath caught in her throat. A hand shot up from the back. "What are the stakes, Hawthorne?" A voice sliced through the tension like a knife, sending gasps rippling through the crowd. The unease thickened, and she could almost hear her heart struggling against her ribs. The uncertainty hung in the air like an unresolved chord, and suddenly, Layla knew her life was about to change in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. And so, a question loomed over her. Would she be brave enough to put her own life on the line for a chance at something that could steal her breath or set her free? Layla couldn't shake the tension surging through her veins. The cacophony of whispers around her faded into a dull roar. Tom was relentless. "You'll have 1 week to decide. I want a true testament of courage. So who's in?" Her heart raced, pounding against her chest like a drum echoing in a cavernous hall. Those words felt as weighty as the volumes surrounding her. She had always buried herself in fiction, thriving on the possibility of daring escapades and uncharted territories, and yet here was a chance real and palpable. But could she exchange her quiet existence for the uncertainty that lay ahead? Sensing the crowd's charged atmosphere, Layla bit her lip. Faces flickered with ambition and trepidation. What lay beneath the surface of Tom's outrageous proposition? Fame, fortune, or something darker? The glint in his eye told her this was just another marketing ploy. There were lives at stake, her life."Simon! Just 1 week." A voice interrupted her anxious thoughts. It was an older woman, her silver hair reflecting a dignity that contrasted sharply with the chaos of the moment. Why only one person? We all deserve a chance. Tom smirked. If I allowed everyone to join, there wouldn't be a story left to tell. One person, one extraordinary journey. Think of it as reality TV meets literature. Reality TV? Layla's stomach twisted at the thought. She had watched enough series to know how ruthless they could be. Was this what battlegrounds looked like? She had chosen stories over food, but now she had to either step up or step back. Let us be real here, a young man shouted, his voice trembling slightly. What is the worst that could happen? Silence blanketed the room, and for a heartbeat, Layla could hear her breath echo in her ears. Everyone felt it, the uncertainty, the pulse of dread mingling with excitement. Tom leaned in closer, a predator sizing up his prey. Worst-case scenario? He chuckled darkly. Well, you could end up in the tabloids. Or worse, you could lose everything you hold dear. But if you prevail, you could have it all. A book deal, money, influence. What is life without risk? The question lanced through her mind. What was life without risk? Layla looked at the shelves of books she had sacrificed meals for, her heart swelling with a longing to belong to a story that was hers alone. Time seemed suspended as she weighed her options, drowning in a sea of fear and fantasy. Suddenly, when each heartbeat felt like a countdown, Layla stood taller. She thrust her hand into the air. I'm in. Gasps echoed around the library. Tom broke into a smile, a predator finally finding its prey. You sure about that, Layla? His voice was thick with challenge. Yes. A ripple of disbelief coursed through the crowd, but beneath it lay a current of admiration. She had stepped onto a precipice without knowing if the ground below was solid. As Tom approached her, a light danced in his eyes. Welcome to a new chapter of your life, Layla. Just remember, what lies ahead will test every fiber of your being. Before she could respond, an inconspicuous figure emerged from the shadows, pushing past her. Wait, there is something you need to know. Layla stumbled as a surge of dread rolled in. Who was this person? Why did their eyes glint with urgency? Don't get too comfortable, they said, voice barely above a whisper. There are secrets in this game, and they can eat you alive. Layla's heart raced again, uncertainty creeping back into her thoughts. What had she just signed up for? And what dark truths awaited her in this daring adventure? The murmur of the crowd swelled, 1,000 reactions crashing together like waves against a rocky shore. Layla's pulse quickened. The figure that had interrupted stood before her, a mixture of fear and determination flickering in their eyes. It felt as if the room had closed in, pressing against her, and she glanced around at the faces of those who had once seemed supportive. Now, they looked different. Distrust lurked beneath their excitement. What do you mean? Layla asked, her voice trembling slightly. The stranger, slender and unassuming, yet with an undeniable intensity, took a step toward her, urgency blaring from their posture. It's not just a game, Layla. Tom has twisted this into something dangerous. Dangerous? Layla echoed, her stomach twisting again. How? People have gotten hurt. Some have even disappeared. It's not just about winning, it's about survival. Their words dripped from their mouth like poison, each syllable heavy with implication. The thrill she had felt, the opportunity that had shimmered with the promise of transformation, began to rot. I'm not afraid of a little risk, Layla shot back, swallowing her rising fear. I signed up for a challenge, not a death sentence. The stranger's lips pressed into a thin line. That S just it starts off easy, a harmless adventure. But it quickly spirals. Tom is a master of manipulation. He'll push you test your limits in ways you can't even imagine. And what if I quit? She asked, her heart pounding louder now. What if I just walk away? The figure leaned in closer, the tension thickening with every inch. Then you risk him coming after you. People don't just walk away. They pay a price. A chill crept down Layla's spine. She turned and quickly scanned the faces of her peers. Many looked engaged, leaning into Tom's charm, completely unaware. Did any of them know the danger lurking beneath this grand illusion? Did they even care? As she felt the room spinning, Layla steadied herself against one of the library's towering bookshelves, the worn spines of novels grounding her as thoughts raced through her mind. She had chosen this life, plunging headfirst into a narrative that was a far cry from the pages she loved. Now, with secrets and threats looming over her, she needed clarity. She needed a plan. "Do you have proof?" Layla asked, voice low. "Any evidence to back up your claims?" The stranger hesitated, a flash of doubt clouding their expression. "I didn't come prepared to stop." Layla cut in, her voice rising. A few heads turned in curiosity. "You need to show me the truth. I'm not going to take your word for it." Tom had been watching this exchange closely, a predatory glint in his eye heightening the tension. He sauntered over, cocky confidence emanating from him like a heavy fog. "What is all this, then? Are the two of you conspiring?" Layla swallowed hard. "Just discussing strategy." He chuckled, the sound chilling. "Strategy-'s good, Layla. But don't forget, the game will decide your fate, not your planning. Strength lies in the unknown." She narrowed her eyes, feeling her heart thunder in the silence. As if sensing her rising defiance, Tom's smile widened, transforming into something unsettling. "You signed up for an adventure, but you'll find out soon enough if you were ever prepared for the real story to unfold." An ice-cold dread snaked around her throat as the reality set in. She was standing on the edge of something profound and terrifying. "Prepare yourself, Layla," Tom added, his gaze lingering on her like a predator sizing up his prey. "Welcome to a world where the stakes are higher than you ever believed possible." And with that, the gauntlet was thrown. What had she gotten herself into, really? Was she ready to face the shadows that danced at the periphery of this game? As the room began to pulse with a life of its own, fear surged through her. What secrets were hidden in the framework of Tom's game? Layla's mind raced 1 week to discover the truth, to uncover secrets lurking in the shadows, and there was no turning back now. She had a world to navigate, and soon she would learn whether courage was truly worth the cost. But beneath it all, another question loomed. Were her choices sealing her fate, or was she merely a pawn on a far darker chessboard? The air in the library buzzed with an undercurrent of tension, a sea of unspoken fears swirling around Layla like a storm poised to break. She could feel the weight of Tom's gaze, a looming shadow that suffocated her ambition. Her heart raced, an unwilling drumbeat at the back of her mind warning of danger lurking just beneath the thrill. "What is your name?" she pressed, narrowing her eyes at the stranger. "If you're going to warn me, at least tell me who you are." "Eli," they replied, the tension in their shoulders relaxing slightly. "I used to be part of this game, until I barely escaped." Before she could ask for more, Tom interjected, his voice slick like oil. "Eli is just bitter, Layla. I wouldn't let their fears taint your experience. You're not a coward, are you?" He stepped forward, his presence imposing. "Keep talking, Tom," Layla shot back, daring him to push her further. "Ah, but you know I could make your adventure unforgettable," he said, leaning closer. "Or I could make your life hell. A little discouragement here, a little sabotage there. You really want to challenge me?" Each word dripped with malice, and the crowd seemed entranced. Yet, amidst their rapt attention, Layla recognized that their admiration for Tom could be more akin to worship than simple enthusiasm. This charged atmosphere thickened, making it hard to breathe. "Eli, you said people disappeared?" Layla turned her full focus on the stranger. "What does that mean? How does this game work?" Eli hesitated, glancing nervously at Tom, who wore a deceptively innocent smile. I can't explain all of it, but I can tell you that he plays mind games, and the stakes are real. Once you're in, there is no easy way out. Then tell me how to get out, Layla pleaded, her voice raising an octave. You can't just drop a truth bomb and leave me in this nightmare. Tom chuckled, the sound like broken glass. You're in deeper than you think. Eli here couldn't get away, and you think you're special? Shut up, Layla snapped, frustration boiling over. You don't get to control me. Not now, not ever. The eyes of the crowd darted between them, caught in a silent tug-of-war. At that moment, the library doors swung open with a crash, startling everyone. A tall figure stumbled in, breathless and wide-eyed. Help! You need to leave, the newcomer shouted, their voice ringing with alarm. They're coming for you. An electric hush fell, silence enveloping the room. Layla's heart raced as she turned to Eli and then Tom. What did they mean? Who was coming? We need to go, Eli whispered urgently, grabbing Layla by the wrist. But before she could respond, Tom stepped in front of them, his grin now a sinister mask. Go where? He challenged, his tone steeped in menace. You really think you can run? You think you can escape the game? Panic surged within Layla, igniting her instincts. We have to listen to them, she urged, pulling away from Eli's grip. We can't dismiss this. If people are truly in danger, this whole place is a facade. Tom's laughter echoed, a chilling sound that turned stomachs. Everything you've ever wanted is right here. If a few people vanish, it adds to the allure. No one questions the thrill. The newcomer stepped closer, fear etched on their face. This ISNTA game. People have vanished off the grid. I barely got out in time. Layla felt the walls closing in, her breath quickening. The stakes surrounding her were mounting like a tidal wave, ready to crash down. In the depths of her mind, a fire ignited, urging her to take a leap. We leave. Now, she declared, steeling her resolve. Tom's eyes narrowed, fury simmering just beneath the surface. You think you'll just walk away? Think again. With determination surging, Layla edged away from him, grabbing Eli's hand. I'd rather face the unknown than this madness. But just as they turned to flee, the lights flickered ominously, then extinguished entirely. Darkness enveloped them, shouts of confusion ringing out like sirens through the black void. A chill rippled through Layla's core. What awaited them outside that door? And as the dark closed around her, Layla couldn't shake one chilling thought: would running be the end of her fears, or the beginning of something far worse? The darkness was thick, smothering, and chaotic. Layla's heart hammered in her chest, drowning out the yells of confusion. She squeezed Eli's hand, the only anchor in a storm. Stay close, she shouted, though her own voice felt swallowed by the void. They stumbled forward together, hands outstretched, desperately searching for an escape route. A tremor punctuated the silence, a low rumble that echoed through the library like a warning bell. This isn't over. Tom's voice cut through the darkness, flat and menacing. Layla's gut twisted at the sound. She felt the presence of the crowd behind them, agitated murmurs rising like a wave trying to breach the shore. Panic clawed at her insides, urging her to bolt. We have to find the door, she barked at Eli. Guided only by instinct and the vague outline of shelves, they navigated cautiously. The musty smell of old books mixed with something harsher, something metallic that set her nerves on edge. Suddenly, lights flicked back on, but not the reassuring glow of overhead bulbs. Stark red beams sliced through the once familiar space. The crowd was silhouetted against the harsh color, their faces twisted in varying degrees of surprise, fear, and thrill. Welcome back to the playroom. Tom's voice slithered into the room, dripping with mockery. Layla spun around, gaze darting for Eli, but the crushing excitement from the crowd began to shift into something darker. "What is happening?" she demanded, the mounting sense of dread tightening her throat. "They can't take the thrill from my game," Tom said, ethics a mere whisper in his twisted logic. "And neither can you." Before Layla could respond, a sudden loud crash echoed from the back of the library, reverberating through her bones. The crowd gasped, entranced and horrified. A massive wooden shelf toppled over, books cascading like a waterfall of stories onto the startled spectators. In a split second that felt like an eternity, Layla's instincts kicked in. "We need to get out now." Eli grasped her hand tighter, propelling them toward the exit, but an invisible force seemed to push them back. The atmosphere grew dense with anticipation and fear, as if the library itself opposed their escape. Shadows danced along the walls, writhing like angry spirits caught in limbo. "No! You're not leaving," Tom's voice rang out, now a jagged edge slicing through the buzz of anxiety. In that moment, the whimsical thrill vanished, leaving raw terror in its wake. Her heart raced faster, blood pulsing in her ears. "I want to play your game," she shouted, anger swirling inside her like a tornado. "Game? Oh, sweetheart, you're so far past that point." His laughter was cruel, a tapestry woven with malice and delight. The sick thrill of the crowd surged again, feeding Tom's power. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, buzzing ominously, before plunging them back into near darkness. The whispers of the crowd merged into a single chant, reverberating off the walls. Join us, Eli!" Layla yelled, panic bursting through. "What do we do?" But as she turned to him, uncertainty hung heavy in the air. Eli's face was pale, eyes wide with realization. "We can't go forward, I think we need to go down." "Down?" Layla echoed, grasping for something solid in the chaos. Before he could respond, the floor beneath them shook violently, a rumble that knocked books from their shelves and scattered them like autumn leaves in a tempest. "Down!" Eli shouted again, and with no other choice, Layla followed him to a hidden doorway that had been overlooked in the chaos. As they descended into the darkness below, the whispers of the crowd faded into an eerie silence, the vibrant energy turning instead into despairing echoes of what had just been. But there, just beyond the threshold, a faint light beckoned. "What do you think lies ahead?" she whispered, fear wrestling with curiosity as they moved deeper into the unknown. And with every step, an unsettling possibility crept into her mind. Was this a new chance to escape or a deeper plunge into a darkness they couldn't fathom? With trepidation surging in her chest, she clung to hope. Would this descent truly lead her to freedom or towards her ultimate downfall? The damp air enveloped them as they stepped into the narrow passage beneath the library. Layla's pulse quickened, each beat a reminder of the darkness they had just fled. She could barely make out Eli's silhouette in front of her. He moved cautiously, the sliver of light ahead flickering like a promise. "What if it's a trap?" she whispered, her voice barely a breath. Eli paused, glancing back with wide eyes. "We're already in a nightmare, Layla. We have to keep moving." His urgency punctured her fear, compelling her forward, even as her instincts screamed for caution. They reached the light, revealing a dimly lit cellar strewn with old boxes and discarded furniture. Dust motes floated lazily in the air, suspended in the haze of golden light. It felt surreal, as if they stepped into a forgotten world. A faint glow emanated from a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling, casting eerie shadows that danced along crumbling walls. "Where do we go now?" Layla asked, scanning the space for anything that could lead to safety. Eli walked to an old bookshelf crammed with leather-bound tomes. The titles seemed to shimmer under the weak light. "What if there are clues here? Maybe something to help us fight back?" Layla approached, her hand brushing against the spines. The texture felt familiar yet foreign, each book a potential key to their survival. But a sense of urgency gnawed at her. We don't have time for a history lesson. What if Tom finds us? Eli's jaw set in determination. I know, but we need any advantage we can find. Remember what he said, he can play games with us. I refuse to let him win. Her resolve hardened. Together, they started pulling books from the shelves, scanning the pages quickly, praying for anything that could save them. A sudden sound echoed in the room, startling them both. Layla spun around, heart racing. The cellar door above creaked ominously as it swung open, dark figures looming in the threshold. Panic pooled in her stomach, every muscle in her body tense for a fight. Your little escape won't last long, Tom's voice echoed, dripping with amusement and power. He stepped forward, shadows elongating around him. I hope you enjoyed the show. It's time for the real game to begin. Get back, Eli yelled, stepping protectively in front of Layla, fists clenched. She didn't know what strength she found in him, but something surged through her, something fierce and primal. Sweetheart, this isn't fight you can win, Tom taunted, stepping further into the room. The shadows seemed to twist along with him, enhancing the darkness. In the dwindling light, Layla caught sight of something shiny wedged between the pages of an open book. It was a silver key, old and ornate. The glimmer sparked hope, an unexpected twist in their fate. Eli! She gasped and lunged for it. What's that? He asked, eyeing the key curiously. I think it's our chance. There has to be a lock somewhere in this place. But before they could ponder further, Tom's laugh cut through the air, sharp and taunting. You believe a key will save you? The light flickered violently, casting unsettling shadows, and it struck Layla in that moment. This was a test. A sinister game designed to fracture their spirits, to break their will. Run! Eli shouted. We can't stay here. They burst back towards the dark maw of the corridor they had come from, panic surging through them. Layla's heart thudded in her ears, the whispers of the crowd embedded in her mind. Join us, the echoes trailed behind them. But when they reached the end of the passage, she halted. The door, the only way out, was sealed tight, brimming with an energy she couldn't explain. Layla, what are you waiting for? Eli's voice was urgent now. Use the key? With trembling hands, she raised the key, desperately searching for a lock. But the air felt heavy, electric, as if something was watching, waiting. Do it. Now! Eli urged, glancing over his shoulder as the darkness loomed closer. In that moment, she felt the weight of all her choices crushing down on her, the decision hanging like a pendulum. Would this key unlock their salvation, or was it a gateway into something far worse? What if this leads to our doom? She whispered, uncertainty clinging to her words, but deep down, she knew they had no choice. She inhaled sharply, gripping the key tightly. And with a defiant twist of her heart and hand, she pushed it into the lock. Would it lead them to freedom, or trap them deeper in Tom's twisted world? The answer lay just beyond the door. The key slid into the lock with a sickening precision. Layla held her breath, heart pounding in her chest, as if it were trying to force its way out. A quiet click resounded, echoing ominously in the cellar. She twisted the key, an electrifying jolt coursing through her. The door creaked open, but darkness spilled out like a living entity, hungry and malevolent. Layla, we have to go, Eli urged, panic etched into his voice. His grip on her arm tightened, grounding her momentarily. She stepped forward, uncertainty gripping her like a vice. What awaited them in that darkness? Every instinct screamed at her to turn back, but the oppressive weight of Tom's presence looming behind them pushed her forward. Let us see what you really want. Tom's voice snaked through the air, chilling her to the bone. The choice is yours, my dear. With a deep breath, they plunged into the darkness. The air shifted, thick and soupy, wrapping around them as they crossed the threshold. For a moment, Layla felt as if they were slipping into another world entirely, one where light didn't dare to tread. The door slammed shut behind them, plunging them into a deeper shadow. She spun around, but their way out had vanished. Eli's face was barely visible, but the determination in his eyes was unmistakable. "There has to be a way out," he said, his voice lower, reassuring, yet edged with fear. "Look for anything, a door, a window, anything." They moved cautiously, their footsteps muffled by the thick, damp air. The darkness seemed to close in, and every time Layla stumbled against something unseen, her heart raced a little faster. "Eli, what is that?" She strained to see through the murk, pointing to a faint outline against the wall. It looked like a door, maybe even a window, but it lay shrouded in shadow, as if it were afraid to show itself completely. "Let us check it out," he breathed, inching closer to the shape. As they approached, a sharp hiss echoed around them. Layla froze, goosebumps prickling her skin. Then she heard it again, a low, rumbling growl, creeping closer. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Yeah," Eli replied, panic flickering in his eyes. "We need to move." They pressed against the dark shape, the air thickening with dread. As if in response, the hissing intensified, morphing into a discordant melody that resonated deep within her. It felt alive, an invitation laced with danger. Without thinking, Layla tried the silver key again, the metallic surface warm against her skin. With a shaky hand, she inserted it into the lock. This one felt different, pulsating as though it held a heartbeat of its own. She turned it, and the lock clicked, but before she could push the door open, quiet laughter surrounded them, echoing off the walls. "Sweetheart, you really think you can escape?" Tom's voice was entwined with mockery. "This realm has no place for the weak, and it knows how to keep you here." The door creaked and rattled as three low shadows slinked into the feeble light, circling them like predators closing in on unsuspecting prey. Layla felt the urge to scream, yet her throat felt constricted, as though the darkness had wrapped itself too tightly around her heart. "Eli! We need to go." Her eyes darted around for an exit, but the room itself twisted. The shelves were now overwhelming, teetering towers of dust and blurred images. "Focus, Layla." Eli's voice pierced through the terror. "If it knows our fears, it can use them against us." "I can't think," she cried, desperation bubbling inside her. "Look inside yourself. You know what you have to do." The shadows lunged forward, and as panic throbbed through her veins, realization hit her like a freight train. She had the key, but not just to the door. It was a symbol her power, her strength forged from her past choices. "Together," she shouted, her voice gaining power. "Whatever comes, we'll face it." They pulled together, standing side by side, as the darkness lunged. With a cry that shattered the silence, they flung the door open, shattering the shackles of fear that bound them before. But in the chaos, Layla could feel the air crackle, the shadows roiling with frustration. What if opening the door only unleashed a greater horror? "Eli, what if we have made a mistake?" As the shadows writhed behind them, she blanketed herself with doubts, swallowing hard. "Trust yourself. Trust us." His words ignited a spark, lighting a fire in her chest as they stepped onto the other side. But what lay beyond it was far worse than either of them imagined. A realm lurking with dark secrets and twisted realities. The true game was only just beginning. The cold air hit them like a slap as they crossed the threshold. It was an open space, starkly contrasting the dungeon-like confines of the cellar. Layla squinted, trying to adjust her eyes to the dim light. What she saw sent a shiver down her spine. They were in an enormous library, but not one filled with comforting novels and friendly spines. The shelves towered impossibly high, reaching the ceiling, where the lights flickered ominously in their own erratic rhythm. Books littered the floor, their covers torn, pages bent and yellowed with age. There was a claustrophobic scent of musty paper mixed with something sweeter, almost syrupy like decay. "Eli, look at this place," Layla whispered, her voice barely a breath. The atmosphere was heavy. Every word dragged her deeper into the weight of despair. "It's even worse than I imagined," he breathed back, apprehension twisting his features. Suddenly, a low humming filled the library, vibrating the air around them. Layla's heart raced as she pulled Eli closer. The sound climbed, mingling with the whispers of 1,000 voices, echoing through the shelves like a wailing chant. Layla's gaze darted around. The shelves seemed to pulse, alive. She felt as though she was being watched from every corner, books peering down like dark eyes. "Do you think Tom?" Layla didn't want to voice the thought, but the presence of that sinister laughter echoed in her mind. Was he here, somehow tethered to this twisted sanctuary? "It could be some sort of trick," Eli replied, glancing at a shelf as if it might leap out at them. "We need to find a way out or something that can help us." The shadows, they were only a piece of the puzzle. With determination flickering in her chest, Layla began walking deeper into the library. The humming grew stronger, almost intoxicating, urging her forward. As she stepped further in, something pulled at her. Each book seemed to call her name. "Layla, wait!" Eli called, but the grip of the library was tightening around her, pulling her closer to a particular title glowing faintly on the shelf. "The Heart of Shadows," she read aloud, fingers brushing against the book's spine. The words resonated, triggering memories that flickered painfully in her mind, moments of betrayal, fear, and anger. A cold wind gusted through the library, scattering paper and whispering her past at her. The lights dimmed, plunging the room into a ghostly gloom, and she felt now more than ever the presence of something foreign and fierce. "Layla, please back away." Eli's voice sliced through the air, but it was too late. As she gripped the book, the atmosphere twisted. Light flashed, and the library shuddered. Shadows writhed around them, forming grotesque shapes and mocking faces. Layla's heart thundered in her chest. "Eli!" she yelled, not knowing where he was now. The world was collapsing around her. In that moment of chaos, there came a flicker of hope, something she could muster from deep within. If the shadows thrived on fear, then perhaps they had to fight back with hope. Gripping the book tighter, Layla shouted, "We can break this cycle. We won't be your pawns any longer." The very air crackled, as if in response to her defiance. The shadows hesitated, the shadows seemed to reel back, momentarily confused. But would they retreat? Or would they retaliate against her proclamation? "Layla!" Eli's voice echoed closer now, solid against the chaos. "What are you doing? You have to stay together." But she was caught in something far beyond just physical bounds. The book pulsed in her grasp, as though it wanted to share its secrets. What kind of strength did it hold? And what would happen if she dared to open it? "Eli, I think I can fight this. I think." But the words stilled in her throat as the shadows surged forward, their growls creating music of malice and rage. "Stop!" Layla screamed, feeling the weight of everything she cared for hanging in the balance. The answer lay within the pages, yet what lay within those pages, she feared, could alter everything, and just before she could turn the cover, darkness cloaked her vision, leaving her clinging to nothing but uncertainty. What truth would be revealed? What horrors? But the library was only a prelude, and the true struggle was still waiting. "Layla, run!" Eli's voice forced its way through, but now it was too late for escape. What would happen next could change everything forever. Would she stand up, or fall victim to the oppressive darkness? The shadows rushed at Layla, their form blurring into a chaotic frenzy of darkness. Her heart pounded relentlessly as the air thickened, like a heavy fog closing in on her. The book, now hot in her hands, vibrated with an ominous power. She could feel it calling to something deep within her, something she wasn't sure she was ready to confront. "Eli!" she cried out again, her voice fractured by panic. The shadows howled back, drowning out her desperation. The mocking laughter enveloped her, taunting her courage as though daring her to defy them. Then suddenly, something in the atmosphere shifted. A flicker of white light erupted where darkness had previously dominated. In that brief moment, she caught a glimpse of Eli, struggling against the tide of shadows. His eyes locked onto hers, filled with fear yet unwavering determination. "Layla, don't let them take you. Focus." His words broke through the noise like a lifeline. She stepped back from the precipice of darkness, and instead felt an urge to embrace the light. She squeezed her eyes shut, her breath coming in short gasps. "Okay," she murmured, "if I can fight them with hope." The shadows shrank back momentarily, sensing her resolve. The book's spine pulsed in rhythm with her racing heartbeat, igniting a surge of defiance. With renewed strength, she opened her eyes and spoke, "I refuse to be afraid any longer." As the words spilled forth, the air shimmered around her like heat waves rising from asphalt. The shadows hesitated, their snarl momentarily softening. Was it possible that her fear was fading? "Layla, try to remember." Eli's voice again cut through the clamor. "All the books we read, they were about love, bravery, hope. Use those feelings." She focused on that warmth, recalling those stories filled with triumph, friendships forged in adversity. Her memories flashed through her mind like a vivid film, a cast of characters woven in rich experiences. Each book she cherished had been a beacon of light through her darkest days. "I remember," she whispered, the book glowing brighter in her hands. "I will not let you win." The shadows shrieked, claws snaking around her as if trying to seize her spirit. Layla gathered the strength of her memories, imagining the characters standing beside her, shielding her from the encroaching darkness. That inner light sparked, illuminating the edges of her vision. With a fierce swing, she hurled the book into the heart of the gloom. The moment it left her grasp, the air crackled, and a beam of brilliant light erupted, painting the walls in blinding white. The shadows recoiled, shrieking as they writhed back, trying to escape the expanding glow. Layla's chest heaved. She felt Eli's hand clasped tightly around hers, pulling her deeper into the light. "Run!" he urged, the sound of his voice urging her forward, to the sanctuary the light promised. Heart racing, she didn't hesitate. Together, they charged toward the source of illumination, feeling the darkness fray around them. But then, in a shattering twist, the light flickered. The book, it had broken apart, scattering pages into the air like confetti. They fell in slow motion, revealing secret pathways and forgotten tales that had long been buried beneath despair. "No!" Layla gasped, dread pooling in her gut. Eli pulled her along with desperate urgency. "We need to get out. Now!" But Layla hesitated. The pages, floating like spectral whispers, seemed to beckon her. Amid the chaos, hidden words heeded her heart's call. What if the story wasn't over yet? "Eli, wait! Something is here." His grip tightened, but she found herself moving toward the fallen pages. Each one glistened with fragments of lost memories and choices made. She could feel the weight of her past pulling her in. The shadows, now more malicious than ever, regrouped, advancing relentlessly. "You can't escape," they hissed with venomous glee. "You belong to us." With each heartbeat, Layla wrestled with a choice: save herself and Eli, or explore the underbelly of the secrets left behind. Before she could decide, the echoes of old whispers brushed against her ears, promising revelations that could alter everything. "Layla!" Eli was tugging her back. "We need to go now." But she stood frozen, mesmerized by the pages, longing to uncover what had been left unsaid. The library grew heavier. Would the pages reveal the truth that had been kept from her, or would they consume her? And in that fleeting moment, a hard decision loomed before her. What future awaited if she dared to know? The shadows lunged, vicious and angry, a clear warning that time was slipping away fast. "Layla," Eli's voice trembled, urgency slicing through their connection. "What do you want?" Those words hung in the air, a question that demanded the answer she feared to give. What did she choose? As the shadows surged, Layla found herself at a crossroads, uncertain whether to forge deeper into the pages or flee into the unknown. The whispers swirled around Layla like an unsettling mist, taunting her resolve. The shadows crept closer, their malevolence palpable. Eli was right. They had to escape, but a deeper part of her yearned to understand. What stories hid within those pages, and could they hold the key to defeating Tom once and for all? "Layla." Eli's voice cracked with urgency, pulling her focus back to the encroaching darkness. "We can't let this place claim us. We need to move." She felt pulled between two worlds, the safety Eli offered, and the allure of the forgotten narrative swirling around her. Time right around them, holding its breath as if waiting for her response. "What do I really want?" she thought, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Freedom," she finally whispered, resolute as the shadows roared in defiance. "I want to reclaim my story." Eli, sensing her shift, stepped back toward her, eyes bright with hope. "Then let us take it." With renewed determination, Layla turned, bolting toward the open space where the glowing pages danced. She could almost hear the stories bursting to life. The air shimmered as she approached, the light radiating with power. "Together," she cried, switching her focus back to Eli. They clasped hands, the connection fueling her strength. They would share this fight, picking up the pieces together and rewriting the script handed to them. As they dove into the pages, the world shifted. Reality twisted and spun, and in an instant, they found themselves within an enchanted forest, a surreal blend of every story they had ever read. Birds sang harmoniously above, and golden sunlight filtered through the trees like whispers of hope. "Is this?" Eli started, staring wide-eyed. "Are we in a book?" "Yes," Layla exclaimed, the thrill electrifying her. "It's a realm of stories. We can find the truth here, reclaim our power." There was a sense of relief washing over them. They were hidden from the shadows, if only for a moment. But they still had to navigate the treacherous paths of these tales, for somewhere in those woods Tom's influence lingered like an unsettling fog. Suddenly, a gust of wind whipped through the trees, chilling her bones. "Layla!" A voice echoed Tom's voice, so familiar yet sinister. "You think you can just reshape your narrative? You're still a pawn in my game." Eli tightened his grip as they moved cautiously through the shimmering trees. "What do we do?" he whispered urgently, scanning the horizon. "Trust the stories," she replied, determination filling her lungs. "They'll guide us to the answers." They tread forward, weaving through the glimmering light. Each step led them deeper into a world brimming with narratives, yet shadowed by the threat that Tom posed. Characters flitted in and out, specters of stories past, whispering bits of wisdom, fragments of advice. "Leap of faith," called a voice, a young girl's laughter following like a sweet melody. "Stand firm. You hold the quill for your own tale." "Layla, we need to decide something," Eli interrupted, his eyes blazing with urgency. "What kind of story do we want to tell? Joy or despair?" "Both," she said, glancing at him. "Our story will be a tapestry, a blend of hope and struggle." In that moment, they reached a clearing, and before them lay a massive tome. It gleamed with every color, an intricate collage swirling across the cover. A title brushed across her mind, echoing in every heartbeat, "The Lives Yet Unwritten." "That's it," Layla proclaimed. "This is our chance." As they approached the book, the air thrummed with energy. The pages flapped wildly, eager to reveal their secrets. "We have to write our ending," Layla urged Eli. "Together?" he asked, hope glimmering in his eyes. "Absolutely." They faced the book, ready to ink a new destiny. Layla dipped her hands into the warmth of its pages, feeling the vibrations of countless stories intertwined. Words cascaded around them, not merely text but talismans against the shadow. With each stroke of their joined hands, they composed their narrative, a tale of freedom, courage, and authenticity. They wove together every triumph over doubt, every heartbeat that spoke of resilience, and every dream worth pursuing. "Yes!" Layla shouted, her heart beating on the pages, echoing their presence. "This is who we are." But just as they thought they'd secured their place in the story, the shadows surged forward, a tumultuous tide mockingly roaring, "You can't escape your fate." The forest began to crumble, the glow of their hopes flickering. "No!" Layla tightened her grip, eyes ablaze with defiance. "This is our moment." With a final push, she finished inscribing their tale. Light erupted from the tome, radiating across the realm like the dawn breaking through the darkest night. The shadows screamed, a cacophony of rage as they shattered, dispersing into oblivion, unable to hold on to the narrative any longer. As the light engulfed her, the world around them melted away. With one last surge of power, their story crystallized, and suddenly they found themselves standing once again in the library, the oppressive atmosphere vanquished, replaced with an air of hopeful possibility. Tom stood before them, but this time he appeared smaller, shrunken by their victory. His confidence faltered, and shadows no longer danced in his eyes. "You cannot control me." "Not anymore," Layla shouted, her voice filled with newfound power. "I write my own story now." Tom's visage twisted, misplaced understanding shimmering behind his eyes before he faded into a vapor, his essence unanchored by the fear that fed him. Eli beamed at Layla, breathless but victorious. "We did it! We really did it!" "I never imagined it would feel like this," Layla replied, heart soaring. "Together we can face anything." The library felt alive again, restored to its original beauty, filled with the promise of adventure unfurling before them. Books lined the walls, their pages fluttering, stories eager to unfold. As they stepped towards the shelves, a sense of peace settled over Layla. She would continue to write, continue to explore. This was just a beginning. "Ready for more stories?" Eli asked, grinning wide. "Always," she replied, hope brimming. "Let us find our next adventure." And together, they stepped forward into the world, ready to face the infinite pages of life that lay ahead. Choices awaited, their narrative unwritten. Now, as we conclude this wild journey, it's time for you to take action. You need to subscribe immediately, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and make your voice heard. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this thrilling ending. Share your thoughts, let us connect. And if you know someone who needs to see this conclusion, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends. Your support is everything. Let us keep this community growing strong.